PJ Net Live. Beginning the second half, we have Ashley L. Jones standing by in the capacity of Michelle Medlock Adams. We are recording. We are streaming live. We are ready to switch to Studio 6 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to PJ Net Live from the beautiful tropical island of, I have no idea where that photograph was taken, but you will notice that I am in long sleeves here in Florida. It is almost below 40 degrees above zero, and we are in full panic, folks. We have been advised, this is literally, they have issued warnings that iguanas could freeze in the palm trees and fall out and could become a danger to you. And the ads have already started from attorneys saying that you could be entitled to substantial compensation if such a thing happens. Okay, Ashley Jones is with us tonight. Normally at this time we see Michelle Medlock Adams, but Ashley is her associate. And Ashley, you handle the social media. What all do you do for Michelle, other than show up on PJ Net Live when she's traveling?
I was afraid you were going to ask that question. You know, it depends on the week and on what project we're working on. So it varies from day to day, but it's always fun. And honestly, I just can't keep track of the woman. She's amazing, and she's always moving. And if I can't keep track of her, I don't know who can. But
I get tired just seeing the things she's doing on social media. You know, and she's not your age. I mean, you know, she's catching up with me. But anyway,
she's maybe 5 years older than I am. That's I'm gonna leave it at that.
She's at least 5 years older than you are, and I actually, folks, anytime we have Ashley, don't think that we are dealing with some second-rate substitute, second string. No. Ashley's the real deal. We've had some great conversations in the past about, for example, cast iron cookware. And man, the chat room was just blowing up with all these cool things. But our chat room is not the only place that your message got heard. You'd recently, somebody read your stuff, didn't they, or something?
Yes. I'm excited as a new author. You know, everything is new, but Publishers Weekly did a really nice review of it today, and I was thrilled. So yeah, so it's like official, you know.
Well, you know, if you watch a lot of things out there, when somebody does a critique or a review, sometimes that can be, you know, rotten tomatoes. What do they have some good things to say about it?
They did, and I did hold my breath while reading it. I have to be honest. I thought I had thick skin, but you know, that first review on your first baby, you want it to be good, and I was very pleased. They said it was a boon to the home cook, so I will take that. It's a boon to the home cook.
So
they were good.
Has anybody other than PJ Net Live called you for an interview?
Oh, well, you know, my phone's off at the moment, but it might be blowing up. You never know.
Folks, we caught her first, folks. You know, Ashley Jones.
That's right.
Here, let me put this name on the board, because remember, you saw her first on PJ Net Live just as the review came out. She, you know, and she's going to be rich and famous one day, and we're going to remind her who is responsible for that. So, well, congratulations, Ashley. That I can imagine how nervous you must have been opening that up to see what's wrapped up inside. So, all right. Well, you know, as I was kind of doing the usual recon that we do, you know, when you have somebody come on, you kind of check their credentials. The day's coming, folks. By the way, the day's coming when we're going to have somebody up here that I'm going to regret inviting. And just, you know, when that happens, you know, that's part of the landscape. Don't worry about it. You know, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm not talking about you, Ashley. I ran across something I had no idea you were involved in. You know, and the website is Big Sister knows, KNOWS.com. Actually, feel free to just use the time that we have. I'll sit back and relax. Tell us what that is about.
So, when I went to my first writers conference in 2015, I learned that writers have to have a blog. And that was news to me. And the Lord really worked on my heart with that and said, you know what? My people are online, and so you need to be online. And I said, okay. And I embraced it, but I had no idea what my platform would be. I knew I had children's books in me. I knew I had a book for young women. And I just, I wasn't a mom yet. And so I couldn't have a mommy blog. Nothing really stood out for me. And someone at a writer's conference, I was talking with her, and I was just explaining kind of who I am. And I said, I'm just a big sister, I just kind of see myself coming alongside other young women and kids. And she's like, well, that's it, Big Sister. So that's how Big Sister Knows started. So my heart's really wrapped up in that. And it is a blog, and hopefully I'll be back to blogging weekly. But you'll be able to see blogs going back to 2015 on all topics of faith and families, relationships, and finances, and just things like that, things that I wish I knew when I was a young woman in college, and some things that I had to learn the hard way, and some things that I learned through my Bible classes as well, because I did receive a master's in biblical studies here in Tallahassee in 2010. And so that was very intentional. That was for me to get the knowledge that I needed to pursue the writing that I wanted to do. And so I incorporate a lot of Bible study and topics in there. So Big Sister Knows is just an umbrella for good, godly, wholesome material that I like to share with people. And some of that may end up in a book, and some of it may just stay where it's at. But yeah, that's my home. So do check it out. And we've got the cast iron stuff there too.
So, what is your take as a big sister? Because you go through these seasons of life. There's a time when you kind of need a big sister, and then there's a transition to where you are the big sister. And for us guys, I think of the Marine Corps. Your drill sergeant is at first your tormentor, but at some point he becomes your mentor. And this is part of coaching.
Analogy.
Yeah, this is the way coaching works. Well, and it's an unfortunate, brutal reality of war, and to some extent football. You have to be torn down. And come to think of it, it's that way in our Christian walk too. We have to first be broken, and then God molds us into what He wants us to be. But brokenness is part of it. How comfortable are you? How long have you felt like you've been in that big sister role? You don't look old enough to have been there too long.
My sister was born when I was 8, and so I was an only child till I was 8, and I wanted nothing more than a little sister. And so when she came around, she was just everything. And then my little brother was born when I was 16,
oh my.
And it's his birthday today. And I will not tell you how old he is, or you will do math. But yeah, so we were all 8 years apart, and I just embraced that big sister role immediately. I was fortunate enough to have a couple older friends when I was young. I didn't really have a lot of kids my age or where I lived, and so I had friends at school, and then I had some older friends at the mall where I helped my grandparents. They owned a cookie shop, and I worked in the mall. So I was always doing kind of adult things at an early age, and hanging out with some older, really godly, wonderful people I met in the mall. And it made an impact on me. And then as I grew up and moved to Tallahassee and started a career here, I was so fortunate to have some women who were just a little older than me come alongside and help me through life, through work, through all those things. And so I really appreciate that mentor relationship, but I think a lot of us shy away from the word mentor or the word discipleship because it seems very formal, and we are more likely to open up to things that are more informal. So I don't often use those words on Big Sister Knows. Discipleship, sure, but not in a formal sense. So I really am drawn to that type of relationship, though, where we learn something and we pass it on, and we learn something and we pass it on. And sometimes you're the one learning, and sometimes you're the one receiving. And so either way, no matter what, I think everyone has something that they can share, and that's just that's just important to me. I share what I have learned, and I just really want to encourage other people, especially young women, to share everything that they have learned and just continue building up those younger folks that come along behind us. I think that's just so important, and I'm afraid it's not really being done. Not in our godly Christian sector. I think there's a lot of things being passed down in the secular sector that's not so good. So they kind of have it figured out. So I think we need to go back and figure out how to share what we know, and to really want to encourage other people to grow in their faith. If we don't want that, I think there's definitely something wrong with the church, and we need to address that.
Well, there's been some cultural shifts. I know in my studies in men's ministry, one of the observations that we made is way back when a young man grew up, he worked in the farm alongside his father, alongside his other brothers, and he bonded with other men, and he came to know of himself as a man, think of himself as a man, given responsibilities. Well, I can only assume, I could probably digress and say that similar things happened in the other gender, to where you worked with your mom, and learned how to use cast iron cookware and things like that.
Yep.
But something happened, and it was earth shattering. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. Where Dad went to town to go to work, and I won't go into the men's ministry implications of that, but what has happened is, it used to be we had 3 generations living in the same home. This is not the case today. So the need for, that's a long story, okay, but I just really feel it's important for us to reflect upon the need to be a big brother or a big sister, and our role in discipleship, and how much that has been exacerbated in the cultural context. Those are some big college words.
I agree completely. Yeah, and it's the same with women, and we have this additional issue of women now in the workforce, and that was not always the case. And so those homemaker skills aren't learned and aren't passed on. And you're exactly right. I mean, we kind of joked about it tongue in cheek, but yeah, cast iron was one of them. We used to learn how to cook from our moms and our grandmas. And now, unfortunately, with the need to have 2 incomes, most of us can't do those sorts of things. And our time with our family is very limited. Hopefully we have weekends together if we're fortunate. If it's shift work, we may not all have a weekend together as a family. So I'm totally with you. But then there's this other issue, that a lot of those things that we traditionally wanted to pass down, like homemaking skills, are now seen as a negative by our society. You want to make a home? You want to cook? How dare you talk about cooking? You're promoting, you're promoting ideals that aren't okay in society today. You're a woman, you should go out and work. It's, as a woman, we deal with these things I think in an even, as you said, even more exacerbated kind of way, because we've got people telling us we shouldn't even be at home, or we should be at work and we shouldn't be at work. And we're just getting pulled in so many directions. It's very hard, and we do need help. We do need guidance from someone who's doing it just one step ahead of us, or 2 steps ahead of us, to tell us a little bit about how that road looks as we walk down it. And I think you're right. That's exactly what men's ministry, discipleship programs, all of that is beneficial.
One of the things that has, and I could go on, and it's not my job here to do the preaching, but let's talk cast iron cookware. There was a day when I was growing up, we all sat at the table and ate a prepared meal, many times from a cast iron skillet. And we fellowshiped together, and you learned manners. You learned to be quiet. You learn to ask permission. You learn to not ask for something not on the table. Folks, we are in a state of cultural decline that leads straight to hell. And you say, oh, come on, coach. It's not really. Well, look around you, folks. Think of some of the social, cultural, and theological implications of the breakup of the family. And it's terrifying.
It is. I mean, I have to agree with everything you just said. It is. And, we're born into this society, we're born into this age, and we don't know any different. And so we do need help. I mean, that's what the Bible is for. We need help to learn what is outside of ourselves so that we can correct ourselves. And we need someone to come alongside us and help us with that sometimes. And, but you're right about the family and the sitting down to dinner together. Even without kids, just couples, it's hard to do that. You've got the TV, you've got all these distractions, your phone. I mean, my husband and I, we always joke that whenever we would go out, we were always having more fun than anyone else. And we were, because everyone else was sitting on their phones. They're paying like $50-$60 a meal and they're on their phones. We couldn't figure out why.
Yeah.
Why would you even bother going out?
You see a family, out to eat somewhere, and one family member is texting another to get a message. It's like, really? I mean, this is off the scales crazy.
It's disturbing. It is. And, there is this aspect, this thing that happened when I started playing with my cast iron cookware, and I started, well, maybe I can make this, or let me try to make this in it. And I started realizing that I could cook a lot better than I thought I could. And I started realizing that a really nice family meal could come out of one skillet. And I felt like it was more intentional. We have all these gadgets today that make things faster, and we kind of get away from the I'm intentionally preparing a healthy meal for my family. We kind of just get away from our purpose.
It is a craft. It is a craft. I was supposed to bring up Dutch oven. Was there something is there something about a Dutch? Tell me what a Dutch oven is, please.
Yeah. So a Dutch oven is traditionally just round, whereas a French oven you might find something called a French oven, which is more elongated. But a Dutch oven is a cast iron pot with a lid, and they used to have feet on them, and you could cook over a fire with that. That's called a camp Dutch oven. They still make them. They're still quite popular. But now they come without the feet, and you can put them on your oven. And so you'll often see them with enamel coating, and those are the really pretty ones. And you might be more familiar with the ones that come from Le Creuset, or your big brands like that, and they're quite expensive. Now Lodge has a line of them, and they're not as expensive, and they're quite good. And I've been doing some review testing on the Lodge ones to see what I think, and they are really cool. And then you can get them from like Sam's Club now for $40. So that it's really cool how you can get them in different markets, or you can get them enameled or bare. But the idea is that they're big, and so you can cook a big pot of chili or stew or whatever in it, pot roast, that sort of thing. I've got a mac and cheese recipe for it in the book Modern Cast Iron. So there's just a lot of things you can do with it, but they've just been around forever. But I've been restoring my mother-in-law's Dutch oven, and that was it's been a task. That thing had so many layers of seasoning in it. We didn't realize how much rust was hidden in there, and what was supposed to be like 15 minutes was 4 days of all kind of things that we were doing to this thing. And it was something else, but it turned out beautiful, and I've got some videos I'll be sharing about it. But
well, it's gotten cold here in Florida. Have you considered maybe some chili?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got a great recipe for taco soup that my mother-in-law gave me, and that's like our family favorite now. And oh yeah, that's great in a Dutch oven, especially an enamel Dutch oven. You can let it go for a while.
Oh yeah, and I guess they have them around the nation, but we see these chili cook-offs, and chili's that one of those interesting foods that everybody's got their secret ingredient.
Yep.
Jalapeno peppers. Do you have a secret ingredient that you that makes it personally your creation?
You know, now that we use taco soup, now that we make that, I don't even make chili anymore because it's like chili, but it when you're done with it, you load it with Fritos and shredded cheese and sour cream. So you can't beat that. I mean, you just can't beat that with a stick. So it's taco soup all the way for us. Yeah.
Well, I have not entered any chili cook-off contests, but I have been consulted about the secret ingredient, that might make the chili great. And my secret ingredient, folks, is Zantac.
Certainly makes it easier.
Just put it in the chili, folks. Nip it in the bud. Yes, Barney would say.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Ashley, I see that our time is up, and it's always a joy and a pleasure to have you here. And we wish our best to Michelle. Tell Michelle she can travel anytime she wants to, as long as she sends Ashley to stand in her place. Ashley, it's been a
I
lot of
appreciate
fun.
that.
Thanks so much for sharing with us tonight.
Thanks so much, Mark.
All right.
Anytime.
Thank you. I hope you had fun. I certainly did. Thank you for. I, I get to read the chat afterwards. Folks, let me invest just a few minutes. I know that. If you'll look in the chat room over down there, if you're in our chat room at patriotjournalist.com, it won't be patriotjournalist.com forever, folks. Does anybody see anything different over there? That's our new logo. Now, I noticed on my computer it still showed the old one. So, eventually the new one will show up. It's called caching. Computers do that. It's storing old images and all that. But the new logo has been completed. I have turned it in over to the animation magicians who are going to have that ready, presumably by tomorrow night. Speaking of tomorrow night, J.D. Wininger is here. Also, Doug Carter, who's I don't see him in the chat room at the moment, suggested somebody for tomorrow night, and we are in contact with them, and we might have someone here tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So don't come in late thinking we don't have anybody. The schedule is filling up. If you will recall, Jake McCandless was with us the other night, and he has just communicated to me that he would like to appear once a month, and that will be the second Tuesday of every month. Folks, we're just growing. Oh, you may have seen the post today that we were going to acquire or place the order for the professional camera that we'll be using going forward when we go to Christian Writers conferences. But the store didn't have any. So we did not place that order today, but the ball is rolling. We are going to get that. I could have ordered just the lens, but I figured camera and lens are sold separately, by the way. But I just find it amazing. And if you read the post I put out, I'm just very humbled because I just never thought that it would be possible. That will be the second largest, or I should say most costly investment that we have in pjnet.tv, exceeded only by the building that we are in right now. It's actually a utility shed, but it was still a substantial amount of money. I'm just blown away with the generosity and the teamwork that you all have exhibited, each one of you. And you say, well, all I do is show up in the chat room. Folks, that's major. That's major. That's the difference between what we do and what others do. Others have a chat room, but it's only available during the live programming, and then it goes away. Folks, our chat room is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you have a blog post, if you're a Christian writer, please consider that a resource. This is going to go 24/7. You realize that? I know that sounds inconceivable. But it is happening, and I look forward to that day when this will be a place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, where people can come and be encouraged and hear uplifting messages of the gospel of Jesus Christ and discipleship and edification and all that kind of stuff. And I'm getting a message from somebody. I'm gonna wrap it up, folks. I just want to say thank you. I know I've said it before, but no matter how hard I try to thank you enough, I can't. I just can't, because you make this what it is. And I just thank God that He has provided this. I thank God that He has protected this. A couple of questions before we go. What's the boldest thing you've ever done for Jesus Christ? And when exactly was that? I hope that you're never satisfied with either answer.